It's time for
DodgerHeads.
Dodgers have won it all in 2020. Shohei Ohtani, 50-50 club. Strikes him out. There's a drive. Shohei Ohtani. Freeman hits the ball. She is gone. Birthday party, Los Angeles. Your Dodgers have won the World Series.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into DodgerHeads Live, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Medium Large Sports Network. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined tonight, as I am every Thursday night, by Bruce Kuntz, here to break down a ton going on around the Dodgers. Some bad news, some good news, maybe some more bad news, who knows? But we know it's not been pretty, Bruce, but it's good to see you on a Thursday night.
Yeah, this is the one thing that feels regular about Dodger baseball lately is at least we're on here talking about it on Thursday like usual, but everything has been out of whack lately. 6 games in a row going back to that series against the Astros, a completely different place than we were in a week ago on this show.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was completely off of the grid. The 18-1 game happened the night before I left, but I left civilization and joked on Twitter, like, did I miss anything? Yeah, the Dodgers lost every single game since I was gone, and many of them in pretty depressing fashion. So we're going to get into all of that. We're going to do some 5 questions about injury updates, talk Max Muncy, Clayton Kershaw in the All-Star game, Tyler Glasnow's return. We got Blake Snell, who just came out of the game in his first rehab appearance. So lots to get to, but let's not bury the lead. Let's talk about this 6-game losing streak. It's the first 6-game losing streak since April of 2019, Bruce. They are currently tied with the Pirates for the longest active losing streak in baseball. Baseball Geek 79 with the super chat, $10 super chat. We appreciate that. Said, please do not just say it doesn't matter because it's all about October. October is not guaranteed. What do you say, Bruce? Does it matter that they lost 6 games?
It's absolutely true that October isn't guaranteed. I think it does matter. You just said like this is the first time since 2019 that the Dodgers have been on a streak like this. This is something you're more used to seeing with teams around baseball. Like at least I'm used to seeing like the Dodgers will stay consistent usually throughout the year. And then you look at like, let's say the Yankees, all of a sudden have had a 6-game skid and you look around at other contenders and I'm more used to seeing this stuff from them. So it's certainly unusual for the Dodgers. And I think it's definitely not something that you just gloss over. Like it means something that they've lost this many games in a row.
Yeah, I'll say it's nice that they started this 6-game losing streak with, I believe, of a 10-game lead in the division or a 9-game lead in the division, something like that. The divisional lead is down to 5, which is still the largest divisional lead any team has in the National League. The Dodgers, schedule continues to get easier from here on out. And so I don't want to sit here, Baseball Geek, and say it doesn't matter. Like, I get it. If you're paid to go to these games, if you're investing 2.5 hours of your time to watch these games, then it's not awesome to go and watch them play the way they have. They scored 1 run in 4 of their last 6 and 2 runs in another. So 5 of the 6 games they have lost, the offense has been non-existent. We're going to talk about that in a bit. They had the lead in 4 out of 6 of these games and lost all 6. But this is the good news to me, Bruce. They still have a 5-game lead in the division over the Giants, who they face this weekend. And our own Matt Moreno tweeted this stat out, which I thought was interesting and maybe gives a little bit of perspective. Last year, in the 12 games heading into the All-Star break, so from July 1st on, the Dodgers were 4-8. This year, they are 3-6 with 3 games remaining. So while 6 in a row sounds bad, if they had gone 1-6 in this stretch with a pair of 3-game losing streaks, it kind of works itself out to be the same thing. So Matt giving some context that, hey, last year they actually did go through a really bad stretch in this point in the season. Does that make you feel any better, Bruce?
Yeah, it still isn't like a panic button thing where you think that the season is going down the drain and that they're not going to make the playoffs or something like that. Like you said, it really helps that they had boosted that divisional lead to 9 before this whole stretch started, and it's still at 5. So as long as you're in a place where you can't in a single weekend lose your divisional lead, then I feel like you're not ready to press the panic button and go crazy. But with the Giants on the schedule this weekend, it's not only a chance to turn things around heading into the break, but it's also a chance to extend that lead back out or have it go the other direction if things continue to spiral.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to think there's a world where this divisional lead is down to 2 heading into the All-Star break. If the Dodgers were to get swept in San Francisco, of course, as you said, it could go the other way and could be 8 or anything in between. The matchups this weekend, Dustin May, Shohei Ohtani, and Yoshinobu Yamamoto for the Dodgers, with Emmett Sheehan piggybacking Ohtani as the plan. And then Webb, Rope, and Ray on the mound for the Giants. So it doesn't get easier in game number 1. Dustin May, probably the weakest option of the Dodgers' 3 pitchers in the series, against a guy in Logan Webb, who Dodger fans are very familiar with how good that guy is. The Giants, by the way, have also won 6 of their last 8 coming into this series. So when does this skid end, Bruce? Does it end tomorrow with Dustin May and Logan Webb on the mound, or do we have to wait until Saturday?
I'm not going to bet against Logan Webb. That guy is an absolute stud. He has been for years, and he's back to his Cy Young form this year. So it's hard for me to say that the Dodgers they're certainly not favorites in that game. I look at Saturday with Ohtani and Sheehan against Landon Roop as that's the best chance to end this skid instead of Friday against Webb.
Yeah, I'm with you. Friday is not looking promising. It could be a 7-game losing streak. I'd be curious. I'll check here in just a second to see if the Dodgers are actually favored in that game, because even when the pitching matchup doesn't go their way and it's on the road and all those things seem stacked against the Dodgers, Vegas knows the Dodgers are still an incredibly good team. And while it's easy to just look at the starting pitching matchups and say, all right, Logan Webb, better pitcher than Dustin May, simple enough. Oftentimes Vegas doesn't necessarily follow that trend. Let's see. Dodgers are underdogs tomorrow night, though. Logan Webb and the Giants minus 132 on the money line. Dodgers plus 108. So not very often you're going to get the Dodgers at plus money. Tomorrow night, one of those opportunities. We got a super chat from Carlos, said, good to see you back, Jeff. Jeff, nice hat. By the way, I got my Freddie hat on. I got my Freddie shirt, my 2024 World Series champs hat. We're trying to change the vibes over here, all right? We're reminding people of where we've been. He said, please get off the Conforto train. Yankees set a precedent with LeMahieu. We can do the same with Conforto. Come on, folks. I'm not getting you can't get me off the Conforto train this easy. I was looking up some offensive numbers, Bruce. I referenced this recently. I looked back since June 1st, and I sorted by weighted runs created plus. So weighted runs created plus, 100 is league average. Over 100 is good. Below 100 is bad. Since June 1st, which is almost a month and a half ago, the Dodgers have just 4 hitters over 100 in the weighted runs created plus category. I'll put you on the spot a tiny bit here, Bruce. Can you name which 4 Dodgers hitters have been over 100 weighted runs created plus in the last month and a half?
I'll give my best guess. So Pages, Smith, Muncy, Ohtani.
Nailed it. And Muncy has the highest. He, of course, is not playing anymore. Followed by Smith, Ohtani, and Pages. Those are the only 4 guys. After that, it's Ha-Seong Kim, who I know people have been clamoring for a while. We can talk about the inconsistency of playing time. He has not performed when he has been on there. 87 weighted runs created plus. Edman at 79, Betts at 73, Conforto 65, Teo 60, Freddie Freeman 51, and Kike Hernandez at 2. That's right, 2 single digits, 2 for Kike Hernandez. He, of course, now on the injured list as well. And so for a team that largely, Bruce, has been carried by their offense, it's kind of miraculous to me that they've been as successful as they have since June 1st, given the numbers that I just read you.
100%. You look back, and it would make more sense if you were talking about this stat specifically and said over this 6-game losing streak over the last week and a half or something, not since June 1st. So that definitely doesn't track with where it's felt like things have been, because you go back a week ago to our show literally 7 days ago and everything felt positive, like the Dodgers were in happy land and there was nothing to worry about. Yeah.
On the pitching side, it's been similar. The starting pitcher who has been best for the Dodgers since June 1st is none other than Clayton Kershaw. But I think what is most surprising, encouraging in one way and very discouraging in the other, is that Yoshinobu Yamamoto has not been the Dodgers' even second best pitcher. That title goes to Justin Robleski as far as starters go. Since June 1st, same time frame, Robleski has thrown just 2 fewer innings than Yoshinobu Yamamoto. He has a better ERA, a better wins above replacement, a better strikeouts per 9, a better walks per 9 in just 2 less innings. So Kershaw's been the best pitcher, Robleski second, and Yamamoto a distant third. So again, the fact that Justin Robleski has been your second best pitcher since June 1st on the starting side, your offense has been well underperforming. And yet, a week ago, prior to a 6-game losing streak, everything was rainbows and unicorns. It's pretty impressive from the Dodgers.
Yeah, it speaks to this team's ability to win games, but I think it kind of erases more red flags than you would have really thought about. Like, this is not, that's why I said when we talk about this 6-game losing streak, it's not I don't think the Dodgers are going to make the playoffs or anything like that, but it doesn't feel like the regular gloss over like I normally would be in this situation. Like past years when they go on their little skids, you said it last year heading into the All-Star break, they weren't playing their best, but you usually can just step back and say the numbers still look good. If you extend it out past the losing streak, they look fine. This time, maybe not as much. Obviously, I still think the Dodgers are going to be in the playoffs. They're still going to be a great team, but more than anything, I think it shows that there are adjustments to be made and there are guys who need to turn things around to get back to where they should be.
Yeah. And that's the thing. That's the reason why, to go back to the first super chat we had, the reason I am not panicked. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't matter. Again, we have to define what it means that it matters. If you're watching the games, paying to go to the games, then I understand why you're frustrated. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm worried about whether or not this team is going to make the playoffs. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm worried about whether or not this team has the capacity to win a World Series, because we know the injuries that they've been dealing with, especially over this 6-game stretch, the guys who have been absent, the guys who have underperformed, who, look, Freddie Freeman's going to perform. Yamamoto is going to perform, even if they haven't of late. And so, yes, it sucks to watch your team lose 6 in a row and all of that, but I'm not worried about this team. I'm not worried about the long term or even the short term. Again, they might lose. It might get to 7 tomorrow. They are favored. They're projected to lose by Vegas tomorrow. And yet they'd still have a 4-game lead in the division. They'd still have the best roster in baseball. And things would still be, as I like to say on here, Bruce, up and to the right for the Dodgers.
You're speaking with the mental clarity of someone who was off the grid for the last 6 days, who didn't have to watch any of what the rest of us just watched, because I agree with you. I want to make that clear, but I definitely understand the frustration that I've seen online and from everybody around watching these last few games and how just ugly it's looked. They're like I said, it doesn't feel like you're watching Dodger baseball. It feels like you're watching one of the other teams that go through ruts. The Dodgers normally just don't do that. So on one level, Dodger fans, everybody who follows the team, we're just spoiled because we're not used to seeing these kind of things. So when it rarely does happen, first time since 2019, they've gone on this kind of a losing streak, we all think that it's the end of the world. Regular teams go through this stuff like it's part of baseball. So just because the Dodgers are happening to have some guys go through slumps at the same time and lose 6 in a row doesn't mean that they're not still capable of winning the World Series.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see people saying, and we get this all the time, oh, this is a Dodger show, so of course you guys are saying this. To be clear, the Dodgers do not pay any of us. I'd love it. If the Dodgers want to pay me, I'm here for it. Let me know. Feel free to give me a call. You can see Bruce and me. You can find our social media handles. Our DMs are open. We're not saying this because we're delusional fans either. I've been accused of that a number of times. I'm saying this because the team is the best roster in Major League Baseball. They're the defending World Series champions. And I know losing 6 in a row stinks, but guess what? Like, I'm just glancing at the schedule real quick. They lost 5 of 6 at one point last year. That's a 1-game difference. Like, were we ready to just throw in the towel at that point in the season? And if you would have thrown in the towel at that point in the season, this was in the second half, by the way, then you would have been disappointed. Like, here's another stretch. They lost 7 of 9 last season. Again, that's not 6 in a row. Here's 5 games in a row they lost last year. So those are all streaks that happened in 2024. They go on to win the World Series. Now, none of those is as bad as 6 in a row, but they're all pretty darn close. And so unless I wake up tomorrow and Shohei Ohtani is incapable of hitting baseballs and all of the injured Dodger pitchers are now out for the season, it sucks to lose 6 in a row, and it does not change the long-term outlook I have on this team.
Baseball is a game of ebb and flows, and the way that you win the World Series is if you get hot heading into October. That's the way that the sport works. That's why wild card teams win sometimes. That's why powerhouses win sometimes. If you go into the playoffs and you play your best, or you are just simply hot at the right time, you go on and you win a lot of games. The good thing is that this isn't happening heading into October. It can happen at any point in the year, and it really isn't indicative of where things are going to be once you're heading into the playoffs, because the roster, although it has gotten a little healthier, lost Max Muncy hitting right into the stretch, who you just said was the best hitter on the team since June 1st. That is certainly meaningful, and it's not all the way healthy yet. Blake Snell is still coming back. Tyler Glasnow just got back for 1 start. Like, this is still not the roster that the Dodgers can expect going into October on a health side or a performance side.
Yeah.
These guys like Freddie Freeman, Yoshinobu Yamamoto are just way too talented to be playing this way. And once you extend it over a full season and give them some time to bust out of this rut, which hopefully the upcoming All-Star break will help just kind of give a reset, they'll get back to who they're supposed to be.
Last year, for context, they lost 4 in a row heading into their final series before the All-Star break. They finished the first half losing 6 of their last 7. They came out of the All-Star break and won 5 in a row in the second half of last season. So just to give you some context. Some more super chats here. Carlos says, Bruce, what are your thoughts on Estuary Ruiz and James Outman so far, as those guys have gotten a little bit of run at the big league club with some injuries?
Yeah, I hate to say it because it sounds awfully like dismissive, but they've both been kind of what I thought they would be. Like neither of them are supposed to come up and be starters or be really good hitters. So they've both subbed in on defense a couple of times. Outman, it did not look good when he was called up in Milwaukee. A lot of strikeouts, which is just his MO now. So nothing has been overly surprising with either of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Fritz with the super chat. I'm not worried with us at 56-41 right now. 56-37 at the break last season. Let's lose now and win later. Up and to the right. Great show as always, Fritz. We appreciate the super chat as always. JY Kim says, is meniscus surgery considered a minor operation? Bill Plunkett reported Michael Kopech is still expected to return this season, which is a great question, JY, and it's going to lead us right in to the next topic. We're going to do a segment called 5 Questions. I've got 5 big questions that I want us to kick around and discuss. And the first one is related to Kopech. Bruce, can we trust the Dodger injury updates anymore after Michael Kopech? He missed the start of the season with a right shoulder injury, made his debut this year on June 8th, made 8 appearances, went on the IL with, quote, right knee inflammation. We were told it was precautionary, that he would be back after the minimum amount of time. Kopech said this. Roberts echoed it, saying, hey, it's just inflammation. Cortisone shot will be good to go. Turns out, 60-day injured list, surgery to repair a torn meniscus in his right knee, although there is hope that he will be back at some point this season, first eligible to be return on August 27th. So what do we do when this team tells us, no, don't worry, minimum amount of time, he'll be back quickly, and then all of a sudden he's on the 60-day IL with knee surgery?
It's a reminder of a couple of things. One is that the Dodgers are not always fully transparent with their injury situations, and that they're not the only team that is that way. Guys don't like their injury talk being public. They don't like the teams don't like other teams knowing what's going on. Like it's usually close to the chest with injuries, but also I think it's just a reminder of how unpredictable injuries themselves are. I don't think that the Dodgers knew at that point that Michael Kopech was going to be going under the knife. Otherwise, they wouldn't have come out and said it was minor, because it would have obviously been proven wrong very shortly after. So my understanding, my guess is that at that point, they genuinely believed it was going to be a minimum stay, and then got some more imaging done and realized, oh, we were wrong too. So it's a reminder that just nothing is ever for certain with injury situations like this. And, you look at Max Muncy, you look at some of these other guys, Tyler Glasnow took a while to get back. Blake Snell just now is finally starting his rehab. It's always up in the air. And especially with these guys that have chalk or not great injuries histories, it's always going to be even more up in the air.
Yeah. And I agree with you, by the way. They said there was inflammation and swelling. If we're going to tell the best possible story about the reports that we had, then maybe the swelling was so significant that they couldn't actually see what was going on there, and they needed the cortisone shot to let the swelling die down. Then they go back in for more scans, and all of a sudden they say, hey, there's actually a small tear in the meniscus. We need to go in and fix it. And so the good news, again, is that they're expecting him back at some point this season. The question, though, is do you believe them, Bruce? Like, okay, maybe they told us the truth about what they knew and they were just wrong. But that leads us to the second follow-up, which is, well, so now why should we trust you that maybe he's going to be back at sometime end of August, early September?
The simple answer is no, because I don't believe them and trust that he will be back this year. I don't think that I have no reason to believe they're wrong or that it's impossible, but I'm back in a holding pattern with Kopech that I've been in with guys like Snell and Glasnow, where I won't believe or trust anything until they're back on the field or on my screen and I'm actively watching them pitch, because I just don't think anything's a guarantee.
Yeah, and this reminds me of Max Muncy last season, which is going to get us into question number 2. But last year on May 15th, he gets injured, which was what we're told was a right oblique strain. was placed on the injured list 2 or 3 days later. Dave Roberts described it as mild. The team was hopeful, if not optimistic, that he would return once he was eligible. That was a 10-day IL. They said, we're hopeful he'll return when he's eligible. He missed over 3 months after that injury, returned 3+ months later as well. So these are the things that go into my mind, which leads me to the second question, Bruce, which is Max Muncy actually the team's most important hitter? I mentioned he missed over 3 months last season. When he got hurt, they lost 7 of their next 11 games immediately following it. Their runs scored per game prior to his injury was 5.4. While he was gone was 4.6. So almost a run difference when Max Muncy was out. I know he's not the best hitter, but is there something about what Max Muncy does, Bruce, that seems to make the Dodgers offense go in a way that not even Shohei Ohtani or Mookie Betts or Freddie Freeman can help them with?
No, I think the most valuable hitters are those guys at the top, but Max Muncy is hugely valuable in that he extends the lineup. The at-bats that he takes are always long. He makes pitchers work very hard. Like, he's more valuable in helping his teammates be better hitters than most guys are. Like, when Max Muncy is in your lineup, you're not just counting on the production of Max Muncy. You're counting on the way that he's going to get pitch counts up of pitchers. You're counting on the way that he's going to throw them off their rhythm when they can't get him to chase. He does so many things that makes him valuable in the depth of a lineup. And lately he's been hitting so well. He's been at the top too, but he really helps no matter where he is, just with his at-bat quality and the way that he forces pitchers to adjust to him. And then all of a sudden you get back to the top and they don't feel as confident in their stuff anymore compared to if there isn't a Max Muncy in the depth of the lineup. And, you know, with James Outman up or other guys that are easier to pitch to, then you're going to get back and face Ohtani while you're in a rhythm.
Yeah, and when we talk about lengthening the lineup, it's not just, now we have to worry about 6 hitters instead of 5. It's the protection that Max Muncy is offering the guy in front of him. So Will Smith becomes a better hitter because he's going to get more pitches to hit when the pitcher is afraid of the guy behind him. But if the guy behind him is Michael Conforto or Teoscar Hernandez who's struggling, or Tommy Edman or somebody like that, then all of a sudden Will Smith is getting less good pitches to hit. And maybe Will Smith starts to struggle, which means the guy in front of him starts to get less good pitches to hit. And it's kind of a domino effect. And so, again, it's just fascinating to me that of all the guys who get hurt or struggle, when Muncy seems to leave last year and this year, perfectly coincides with the offense being a mess and with losses starting to stack up. So something to keep an eye on for this 6 weeks, if you want to believe that he's going to be out with a bone bruise, and how well the Dodgers offense responds. By the way, another super chat here from our guy, David. David, thank you. As always, he said last year until June 15th, till the All-Star break, the Dodgers were 13-13. This year, June 15th until now, 14-9, still 3 more to go. Worst case scenario is 14-12. No need to panic. So there you go. A little bit of some more numbers to back up the optimism, David. We appreciate that. Let's get to question number 3, and it relates to this weekend series against the San Francisco Giants. Bruce, will Shohei Ohtani throw 3 innings on Saturday? This is maybe not the million, maybe the $700 million question. He has gone 1, 2, and 2 innings so far. He was up to 31 pitches, which was a season high last time out, but he repeated 1 inning twice. He repeated 2 innings twice. Does that mean, Bruce, we are due for 3 innings on Saturday?
I hope so. If he follows the trend, it seems like it would make sense. They're going to have to work him up at least a little more at some point. And now that he's capable of throwing 31 pitches, and he didn't look like he was laboring at all in the last start, I don't see a reason why he wouldn't be ready. The only way that they don't have him throw 3 is if they are so committed to the slow buildup that it's going to be 2 of 1 inning, 3 of 2, maybe 4 of 3, and just eventually maybe reach 4. But I'm hoping that he'll throw 3. That's kind of my expectation going in, and I would be surprised if he doesn't.
Yeah, I'm with you. Obviously, how many pitches it takes him to throw in the first 2 innings, because my guess is the Dodgers don't want to have to remove him in the middle of an inning and then get the bullpen moving, knowing that Emmett Sheehan is going to be back behind him. And so if he can get through 2 innings under 30 pitches, then I would think maybe they take their chances on trotting him back out there. But again, we had Bill Plunkett on our channel, and he talked about echoed basically what we've been saying on our channel. The goal is not to have Shohei Ohtani built up by August 1st. The goal is to have Shohei Ohtani ready to pitch meaningful innings in September and October and beyond. And so if that involves a little bit more slow playing, on the front end, then so be it. But I'm with you. 3 innings would be my guess. And he's been great, by the way, since that first outing, which was a little shaky, not necessarily entirely his fault, but his last 3 outings, 5 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. So when we say 3 innings, Bruce, I imagine we're expecting productive, high-quality innings from Ohtani.
Yeah, when we say the expectation is 3, that's saying if he is pitching well and the pitch count isn't abnormally high, then he goes 3. If he throws 35 pitches in 2 innings, then I wouldn't expect him to go back out. So this is all purely on a standpoint of what's the expectation if things are going right, and then you adjust if they aren't.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, we got a couple more super chats here. David says, important Dodger hitters in order: Freddie, Mookie, Ohtani, Muncy, or Will Smith in the 4 spot. I would imagine, Bruce, you might disagree and say that Shohei Ohtani should be higher on this list.
Yeah, Ohtani is without a doubt number 1 for me, just because he's the NL MVP and the most valuable hitter in the National League.
Would you go Freddie, Mookie, and then Muncy after that?
See, that's tough because I think Will Smith is giving himself an argument to be up there on this list with the way that he's hit this year, and Muncy too, with how he was after he made some adjustments and the bad start to the year. And then once he turned it around, he was hitting better than Freddie or Mookie too. So I still wouldn't be comfortable like saying that I think Smith or Muncy should be above Mookie and Freddie, but I think they're all Ohtani's number 1, and then those 4 guys are in the same weight class of supporting cast to Ohtani that is also extremely valuable.
Yeah, I'd probably have Freddie in his own tier, but I kind of agree with you. We'll have to see what Mookie what he looks like as this season goes on, if and when he gets healthy. But I think Muncy and Will Smith are probably climbing the ladder closer to the back end of that second tier. But I agree with you. Carlos, question. I don't know if you're a draft guy, Bruce, but he says, Bruce, who did the Dodgers draft on Sunday?
I don't have any names to throw at you because it's such a crapshoot in the MLB draft. It's really hard to predict these kind of things because it's such a complicated process of bonus pools, and other drafts you're able to just say like who's the best players. But like you look a couple years ago when the Dodgers took Kendall George at I think it was 35. That was not even like on my personal radar. That I thought maybe he was a guy I heard of, but 35th, not even close. And that was purely because they wanted to save money for the rest of the draft. So sorry, Carlos, I don't have any specific names to throw at you, but I am going to be going crazy on my draft coverage. Last year during the draft, I don't think I stood up from my computer for like 5 hours straight. So I'm expecting some similar craziness this year.
Good news for you, Carlos. If you stay tuned right to this channel, Dodger Blue 1958, Justin Lorber and I did an interview today, which I believe we'll be posting tomorrow morning, where he goes over his big board of guys that he likes in that range. Some names that have been connected. Quentin Young is the name that I've seen connected to the Dodgers a number of times. He's the nephew of Dimitri Young and Delman Young, if you remember those names. Mm-hmm. Goes to Oaks Christian, so he's a local kid, massive 6'6" shortstop that he might be able to put the bat on the ball, to be determined. But if he does put the bat on the ball, everything else is pretty impressive. So that's a name I've heard a lot. But again, be on this channel tomorrow morning. You'll see an interview with Justin Lorber and I, and then we'll be doing a draft recap as well. And so, stay tuned. But I'm with Bruce. The good news, though, by the way, I'm with Bruce that the draft is crazy and trying to predict any of it is chaos. The good news, the Dodgers have more picks at the top of the draft than they've ever had. So they pick 40th and 41st. They also have a 2nd-round pick and a 3rd-round pick, which they haven't had a 2nd-round pick in 3 or 4 years. So they got some money to spend.
Yep. I think the thing that could be fun with the draft, having those 2 picks at the top, if Quentin Young was there, I would certainly think that he'll be taken. I'm kind of falling on the side of it. I don't think he will be there. So that's why I didn't immediately jump to his name. Apparently he's been connected to the Padres pretty good too. And they picked before the Dodgers. So I don't know if he'll be there. If he is, then they could have a chance of, with those 2 picks in the 40s, go one more risky pick like Young and then take somebody who's a little bit more of a floor kind of guy. So they have a lot of ways they can approach it. And that depth of the draft is really where the Dodgers thrive. That's where they got Dalton Rushing a few years back, is in that early 2nd round kind of range. So that's exactly where they'd like to be. And I think it's better for the Dodgers to have multiple picks in that sort of a range than just one in the 20s like they had last year.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. 300 with the super chat. I think we are going to roll with our starting pitchers as is, but we need a bullpen arm and an outfielder. Jaron Duran, come on down. I'm not so sure about that one, but I'm going to plug another interview. Andy McCullough of The Athletic also recorded with me today. I believe that's going to post on Saturday, but we did a bit of a trade deadline preview, and he had some interesting thoughts on how aggressive the Dodgers may or may not be, what positions they may or may not target. So I'll tease it a little bit there. But Bruce, do you agree with this? Good with starting pitchers, but we need to add a bullpen arm and an outfielder?
I think there will be a reliever that probably gets added in some sort of capacity, but I think we talked about this last week. I don't think the Dodgers are going to aim for the very top of the market. That's just not how they prefer to roll with these things, especially in the modern outlook of the trade deadline. It's so much different than it was 5 years ago when they could make a trade for a guy like Yu Darvish or a big ticket kind of name like that without parting with like your entire farm system. But now with how many wildcard spots there are, practically every team in baseball thinks they're in contention. So there's like 5 true sellers. And so the market's just crazy. The Dodgers stacked their pitching staff heading into this year with guys that obviously have been hurt a lot, but there's so many names that like if in a theoretical world they were all healthy, then there wouldn't even be room for all of them. And that was intentional so that they don't feel the pressure to have to go and spend huge prospect talent at the deadline to go get somebody at the top of the market. Yeah,
I'm with you. Tim, with a follow-up, do we need to add another reliever? Some names, Joe Kelly. I love that. I love that Joe Kelly gets put on this list. Kenley Jansen, Joan Duran, Aroldis Chapman, David Bednar, Emmanuel Clase. Anyone else? ? This is a conversation we had with Andy McCullough. So again, I'll tease that. But what's interesting to me, Bruce, is that the bullpen situation has got to be tricky for the Dodgers to address because they have a number of guys that are still yet to come back. Like if a guy like Brusdar Graterol is able to get healthy, if Edgardo Enriquez is somebody that they want to give a shot to, obviously Ben Kasparias has now been moved to the bullpen. There aren't a ton of guys who have options. So there's a number of players that, Kirby Yates, Tanner Scott, guys like that, they're there. Like you can't do anything unless you're just going to cut that player altogether. But the other interesting piece to me, Bruce, is as we get closer to the postseason, let's say in a world that none of us are allowed to imagine that the Dodgers starting pitching staff is mostly healthy. You could see a world where the only place for Dustin May to go is into the bullpen. And the only place for Emmett Sheehan to go is into the bullpen. And Justin Robleski into the bullpen. And so that's what makes the bullpen so tricky to me, because obviously if we're talking about Joan Duran, Clase, those types, they're elite. Like that's a ceiling raiser in the bullpen. But a lot of the other names that are out there, how big of a difference is there going to be between that player and like Justin Robleski or Dustin May as a reliever? Those are the questions that kick around my head.
I'm completely with you. The Dodgers feel like they're already filled out in terms of good depth, like that you can have some sort of trust in. The long relief with the guys like Kasparias and Robleski, you feel okay about. Even somebody like Landon Knack, if they needed innings out of the bullpen, I'd feel perfectly fine with him coming up compared to going and trading for somebody on the market who's going to cost prospects and then potentially not have options. You have a lot of flexibility with the names the Dodgers have now, some guys with options, and then the guys that don't have them, like you said, there's not really anything you can do. And the last thing you'd want to do, go out and trade prospects to bring back a reliever and then have to cut somebody you already had because you've just got too many guys. And then you just parted with prospects and cut somebody for no reason. And you kind of just screwed yourself. So I think that's the situation the Dodgers want to avoid, and why they have so many names in the first place is specifically to prepare themselves so they don't have to go. I think it might be even just as likely that they go out and get somebody huge on the market. It's just like a waiver claim if they need an inning here or there, and then they can cut them if they need to without feeling like they lost anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree with you on that one. All right, let's get to questions number 4 and 5 on my 5 big questions list. My personal favorite, Bruce. Should Clayton Kershaw be starting the All-Star game? A surprise addition to the All-Star game. Dave Roberts gets to choose who starts this game because the Dodgers won the National League last year. He gets to be the manager. He is a legacy pick. Clayton Kershaw is. Signs seem to be pointing to that this might be his final season in Major League Baseball. Bruce, do you think Clayton Kershaw should start the All-Star game?
I hate to say it, but no, it's time to give the guys who are currently pitching at that level that chance, which means Paul Skeens should start it again because he's the face of the National League and on the pitching side. And I think that's fair. Kershaw, I'm glad that they gave him the legacy selection, so he's at least there and hopefully might pitch in some capacity. But there's also the fact I don't even know if it's a guarantee that he'll get into the game because he's in such a place where every inning matters so much and is so specifically managed that it might not even be worth it. I kind of think that with a lot of the guys on the Dodger pitching staff, that every time that you have to warm up and go into a game and pitch pitches, you want to use those sparingly. But I think that it's time to give the nod to the guys who have pitched all the way through this first half and earned that all-star selection without being a legacy pick to get in there.
This will surprise nobody. I completely disagree with you and the entirety of the chat, by the way, which does agree with you. It's an exhibition game. It's the All-Star game. It's entertainment. Clayton Kershaw just recorded 3,000 strikeouts. He's the greatest pitcher of his generation, a unanimous first ballot Hall of Famer, who, by the way, doesn't deserve to be an All-Star because he hasn't pitched that much, but is pitching really freaking well right now. And by the way, the Dodgers won the National League, which means their manager gets to manage the game. So screw it. Dave Roberts, lean into being the villain and say, this guy's the greatest pitcher of the last 25 years. He's starting the All-Star game. It's probably his last season, probably his last All-Star game. Hell yeah. Put Clayton Kershaw in the All-Star game. Is he the best pitcher? No. This is an exhibition game. There's no stakes. There are guys opting out of this game. Yoshinobu Yamamoto's an all-star, but he's pitching on Sunday, so he's not going to play in the game. Like, this doesn't mean anything. Let Clayton Kershaw pitch. He's the freaking man, and the Dodgers have earned it.
The thing that I think is interesting to imagine, if the MLB social media accounts even post a regular home run highlight of Shohei Ohtani or Freddie Freeman or Mookie Betts, the entire comment section immediately explodes. There are 29 other teams too. Why the MLB has so much bias towards the Dodgers? If Clayton Kershaw started the All-Star game over Paul Skeens, that would be like tenfold, and it wouldn't be entirely unjustified like the claims about Ohtani getting posted are. So the world would burn. I know you'd love to see that.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Kershaw's the GOAT.
Yeah, I'm sure there are Dodger fans who will agree with you, and I wouldn't be mad. I just don't think that it's a decision that makes sense.
And by the way, Paul Skeens has been quoted as saying, he's like, I hope Clayton Kershaw's not sick of me because I'm going to be following his every move and picking his brain on everything. So Paul Skeens recognizes greatness. Like, he's not going to be throwing a temper tantrum if he doesn't get to start the All-Star game because Clayton Kershaw does. So Dave Roberts, do the right thing. And Roberts joked, he was asked directly about if a tall guy from Pittsburgh or something was going to be starting the All-Star game. And I guess he smiled and laughed and said, it might be a tall guy or something like that was his answer. Now, this was before Kershaw was even on the All-Star roster. But again, if there was something on the line, sure. If this game mattered for some reason, fine. But like, we don't care. Sure, like somebody will write, he started 2 All-Star games. Nobody actually cares about that. Like, that's not something that goes on your Hall of Fame plaque. It doesn't really matter. Let Kershaw have his moment. That's my 2 cents. It's not because I want the world to burn. It's because Clayton Kershaw deserves every ounce of recognition that he could get, and this is one of them. And again, I think, like, what? You get to be the All-Star manager. You don't really get to do anything. Dave, flex your muscles, baby. Get Clayton Kershaw into starting the All-Star game. We'll see if it happens, but that's my 2 cents.
You don't want to see the world burn, but you're willing to see it burn if it means Clayton Kershaw gets this done. Yeah.
In the name of right, then the world can burn, but not just for no reason. David says, or bring in Kershaw to close the game out. Don't do that. Let the man have a warm-up routine. He's old. That's the other piece too. Like, if he's gonna pitch, let him pitch in the first inning. Let him have somewhat of a normal warm-up routine. And there you go. There's another one. Dave could say, hey, look, he's an ancient guy out here. We don't want to mess him up. He can't come in. He can't warm up in the bullpen and pitch in the 4th inning. Like, let's just get this guy in for the first inning. And heck, it could be the first batter. Let him get an ovation as he leaves. Like, I'm fine with that too. But just let him start. That's my
maybe Dave Roberts just needs to have a conversation with Paul Skeens and see if Skeens can make the decision for himself, whether he is willing to give it up or not.
Yeah, and if he doesn't, screw you, Paul Skeens. But still, come to the Dodgers eventually. Okay, last, the runner on second. What pitching changes have been in the minors? I'm not entirely tracking on this one. Have there been any major pitching shifts in the minors, Bruce, that you can think of?
I would think this means like promotions.
Could be.
Patrick Copen got moved up to AA, so that's notable. And then just on the general pitching news side, Jackson Ferris had a great start yesterday. His ERA is still north of 5 on the season, but I said it to somebody in the replies on that tweet with Ferris. It's been, as is the case with many Dodger pitchers, there have been terrible starts, and then there have been really good ones. Last night was one of the really good ones. His overall numbers don't look good because of the terrible starts that drag it up. The Dodgers target the kind of pitchers that are so flammable when they're young and in the lower minor leagues that it's much more worth it to look at individual starts and try to see, like, what is this guy capable of doing? And then one of the main things they're developing is consistency. So those numbers aren't immediately going to show the consistency that they hope to eventually have.
Love it. I love it. All right. Let's get to question number 5. First, though, thanks to everyone, as always, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, joining us live. We appreciate you. Those watching on YouTube after the fact or listening via podcast, Apple, Spotify, and Google. We are available via podcast. So if you're traveling at some point this summer and you can't catch the live YouTube, head over to Spotify, YouTube, or Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe to the Dodger Heads podcast, rate and review. That would be a huge help to us. Last question for you before we get to some injury updates, odds and ends, and a prospect corner. Were you impressed with Tyler Glasnow's return to the mound, Bruce? He comes in yesterday. The pitching line, I would say, mostly good. If you watched it with your eyes, it might have been slightly less inspiring. But on the whole, Tyler Glasnow's return, thumbs up or thumbs down from you?
Not quite a full thumbs up, but like a 75% thumbs up. I wasn't really discouraged by anything. His command wasn't like perfect, but that's how it was before he got hurt. This whole year, his command hasn't been quite as sharp as it was last year, but I don't think that's something to worry about or feel like is permanent. I thought he was fine. He had 5 strikeouts, went 5 innings. Like, those are the main things that are like, it wasn't a bad start by any means. And so for his first start back on the mound in a few months, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, you mentioned not being able to find the strike zone. His slider found the zone just 38% of the time. So 9 times it would have been a call to strike in 24 pitches. The curveball was even worse. He threw 8 curveballs. 1 of them would have landed for a strike, just 13%. But 1 earned run in 5 innings. The velo is the thing that jumps off the page. And if you're looking for reason to be encouraged, it's that. Coming in, his average fastball sinker velocity was just over 95 miles an hour. On Wednesday, all but 4 of his fastballs and sinkers were above that mark. So the average was well above, including a 99.5 mile an hour fastball, which is the fastest he has ever thrown in a Dodgers uniform. So it's baby steps with Tyler Glasnow. The fact that he was healthy, the fact that he was available, the fact that he gave them 5 innings, like, those are all the keys. He's going to get an extended break over the All-Star break. And so, to your point, Bruce, like, if the velocity is sustainable and he can just learn to land those breaking pitches, which will happen more and more over time, there's a reason this guy is penciled in to a playoff rotation if he can get there upright.
And the thing that I'll say too about the breaking pitches, like, the objective a lot of times is not for him to throw those for strikes. So I don't see that as a huge problem, because once Tyler Glasnow gets to 2 strikes, like, you don't want that curveball or that slider in the zone, because you're looking for a chase and you're looking for a swing and miss. And he's great at those things. So with the fastball velo being as great as it was, if he can sustain that, then that tells me he can throw the fastball early in counts, get ahead, and then go to those breaking balls. And even if they're not in the strike zone, it'll be great. So I'm perfectly fine with where he's at. Yeah,
I'm with you. Good stuff there. Let's get to a couple more super chats before we move on to injury updates and such. Aaron asks, Bruce, who's repping us in the futures game? Couple representatives for the Dodgers.
Yeah, so Josue DePaula and Zahir Hope both are in. I haven't seen any other guys get announced, so I believe it's just those 2, but that's still a great group. Those 2 guys are definitely going to make the Dodgers look good.
Yeah, absolutely. Carlos wants to know, Bruce, what are your thoughts on Jose Rodriguez? Any good?
He's got a good deep arsenal, and I think that he can be a major league pitcher as a long reliever. I don't see huge ceiling with him, but the changeup is excellent, and he can pair a sinker off of it, and that part's okay. He hasn't had great results this year. The numbers in AAA especially have not been good, but he's been slowly getting back on track, and I think he's a guy that really, at any time, if they absolutely needed a few innings out of the bullpen, like a 3-inning appearance, something like that, then he could be in the mix, but they also wouldn't want to just immediately DFA him. So that makes it a little complicated. At the same time, though, He was already Rule 5 eligible this last offseason. They did not protect him. He made it through the draft, which on some level surprised me a little bit. If he goes back this offseason into the Rule 5 draft pool and they don't add him to the 40-man, then he's as good as gone. So they might have to at some point.
Yeah. And do you see him more as would he be better off as just a pure relief prospect, or do you think his value is kind of in that swingman role?
I think it's the swingman kind of thing, because I don't think that he has stuff that fits into the absolute back end of a bullpen for like single inning spurts. And I also don't really see him as a starting pitcher. So I think he's right in the same kind of group of like Ben Kasparius, where it's like the stuff is good. There's one really good pitch. He can throw multiple innings, and that kind of swingman role is the perfect spot for him.
Yeah, there you go. So thank you for the super chat. And again, we're going to get to a prospect corner. If you got more prospect questions, save those for the end of the show. Let's get some injury updates. A bunch of guys injured for the Dodgers, in case you didn't know that. We talked about Max Muncy with the bone bruise, out 6 weeks, according to him. Teoscar Hernandez fouled the ball off his left foot on Saturday, has not started since, although he did pinch hit on Wednesday. Good news here. Dave Roberts fully expects Teoscar Hernandez to be in the lineup tomorrow night, Friday, against the Giants, which is good news. Tommy Edman is playing through a fractured pinky toe. So all these Dodgers with busted up toes, we got to figure something else out. Kike Hernandez to the injured list with the left elbow injury. But the two pieces of good news: Blake Treinen opened for Oklahoma City on Wednesday, a 1-2-3 first inning, 2 strikeouts, 12 pitches. Dave Roberts said he expects Treinen back, quote, shortly after the All-Star break, which will be a welcome addition to a Dodgers bullpen that could use him. And then tonight, Blake Snell made his first rehab appearance for Rancho. 2 innings, 1 hit, no runs, no walks, 4 strikeouts across 31 pitches. So Treinen and Snell, both impressive in their latest, in Snell's case, first rehab appearance.
Yeah, that part's encouraging, right, to see those guys back. We just were talking about the whole bullpen situation, and Blake Treinen is the perfect example of that. Is the trade deadline big back end acquisition, is getting a guy like that back for no prospect cost whatsoever. You just have to free up a roster spot. So I think getting Treinen back will immediately boost the floor and the ceiling of the bullpen. That's great. And obviously Blake Snell finally back healthy and throwing. He looked good in Rancho tonight. So that's going to be a very progressive build up. Don't expect him to be back next week now that he's just made 1 rehab start. I think it could be something like a month in the minor leagues to get him back to a full pitch count and get him back to the major leagues. But 1 start and he looked good tonight. Certainly encouraging.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. All right, let's get to some odds and ends here. Some bobbleheads have been released, announced, I should say, for the back half of the season. We've got Ohtani's second 50-50 bobblehead, Kike Hernandez bobblehead on August 31st, Blake Treinen August 16th, Tyler Glasnow September 18th, Joe Davis September 19th. We've gotten the first pictures of the Kobe Bryant bobblehead, him in a Lakers jersey swinging a bat, and then also teased a Clayton Kershaw 3,000 strikeouts bobblehead as well. Of those ones, Bruce, I'm curious what you are most interested, which one you would be most interested. Is it Ohtani, Kike, Treinen, Glasnow, Joe Davis, Kobe, or Clayton Kershaw?
I've already got the first 50-50 Ohtani bobblehead. I was at that game. So I'll say the 3,000 strikeouts for Kershaw. That's a completely unique bobblehead. So that would be my number 1.
It's tough. Everybody knows I love Kershaw. The Kobe bobblehead to me looks sick and just different. I have a bunch of Kershaw bobbleheads. Obviously, the 3,000 strikeouts is a clear number 2 for me. I will point out one of my favorite bobbleheads is this one right here, which I don't know how well you can see it. That is the bobblehead where Clayton Kershaw was actually swinging a bat, which is an amazing bobblehead. So we've got a bunch of Kershaw bobbleheads, the iconic rotation here. So we got options, but it's Kobe inching out the 3,000 strikeouts, although I would love both. Both of those games, by the way, you cannot buy tickets, as far as I can tell, for under $200 a piece right now. So if you have tickets, congratulations. If not, good luck. Also, I want to give a shout out to Complex. They invited us, DodgerBlue.com, to their pop-up. So make sure you're following Dodger Blue on social media, Twitter, Instagram, for updates, photos, and more. We got to do this with them earlier in the year when they released kind of their special collection. And we get to do it again. So BLACKPINK and Complex, shout out to you guys for that. Also, if you are not already, pay attention to the Dodger Blue social media. We just announced on Twitter, we are giving away a copy of Bill Plunkett's book on Shohei Ohtani's 2024 season, the historic 50-50, the World Series run, all of it. We're giving away a copy of that book on Twitter, one on Instagram, and one on YouTube. Right now, the Twitter giveaway is going. All you've got to do is retweet and tag 2 friends in the tweet, and you will be entered to win a chance. We will mail it to you anywhere in the United States. And then stay tuned on Sunday night. Matt and I are going to be giving away some details about how you can enter on YouTube, and there will be a giveaway on Instagram as well. So stay tuned for details on all of those things. Last thing before we get to some questions, it's our favorite segment with Bruce. It's Prospect Corner. And today we are talking about a gentleman by the name of Noah Miller, 22-year-old shortstop, first-round pick of the Twins back in 2021 out of high school, acquired by the Dodgers in the Manuel Margot trade last year, I guess, about a year and a half ago. So what can you tell us about Noah Miller, Bruce?
Yeah, so Noah Miller just got moved up to AAA, so he's just one step from the big leagues. Feel like it's a good time to talk about him. He's got a unique profile in that the bat is not something to talk about. If he was a only hitting prospect and he played like left field or something, then he wouldn't even be in the minor leagues. The thing that stands out with him is the glove at shortstop. He's not only a true shortstop, he's the best infield defender in the system. That glove is graded out anywhere from plus to double plus. There's some people with a 70 tag on it, which is very, very legitimate. So he's got the kind of profile that almost regardless of how he hits, he could be a big leaguer in the future just on the glove alone. So that's encouraging. Like you said, they got him from the Twins in the Manny Margot trade before last year. They sent Margot and Rain Doncon to the Twins, got Miller back, and kind of just a move to get rid of Doncon or get rid of Margot. And Miller's been solid since he got to the system. He got to AA last year after playing the majority of the season in high A. Kind of sped through AA this year by playing pretty good. Now is up in AAA. He's playing a lot of shortstop now for Oklahoma City with Alex Freeland, kind of getting a chance to move over to third base, get some innings there, potentially showcase himself for a potential major league debut. But Miller and Freeland on the left side in Oklahoma City, absolute fantastic defense. So if you get a chance to watch an Oklahoma City Comets game, that's going to be some good leather work on that left side.
Is there a projection that he's ever going to be able to hit enough to sort of be an everyday guy, or is he destined for sort of like a Miguel Rojas type career?
I think he could hit enough to be like a number 9 hitter, maybe. The plate discipline is about average, so he doesn't have a terrible on-base profile. It's not like Rojas where he's going to be chasing all the time. That said, he doesn't have really much power to speak of. It's more like a 30-35 grade, so teams aren't going to be afraid to throw him strikes. So it's not like the walk rate will be extremely high, but the hit tool is about fringe average 45. So it's not like completely unplayable, but it absolutely will be a defense first kind of profile.
And I should say Miguel Rojas, when it was sort of the peak of his career, was playing consistently for the Marlins and had a couple good seasons in there. So maybe a Miguel Rojas's career isn't something to be too disappointed in, but
definitely not.
There's your prospect corner on Noah Miller. Let's get to some questions. If you've got any questions, all caps questions, throw those in the chat. We'll get to those. Scarecrow with the super chat. Great show as always. Going to watch the Dodgers live for the first time. Really hope Ohtani pitches Saturday. Good news for you. You're going to get Ohtani on Saturday and Emmett Sheehan piggybacking. So a couple exciting pitchers for the Dodgers scheduled to throw on Saturday. We appreciate the feedback. We appreciate you being here. And of course, we appreciate the super chat. So let's get to some questions here. Dodgers Hub. Out of Kopech, Roki, Gonsolin, Gratterall, and Hurt, who do you predict will return this year, if any? Also, what do you think of a Jarren Duran trade? Down year this year, but was great last season. So let's go to the top of that list. Kopech, Roki, Gonsolin, Gratterall, and Hurt. Who do you think will return this year, if any? Bruce.
I think the two guys with the best chance would probably be Kopech and Gratterall. Hurt is right behind them because he is already throwing in Arizona. So it seems like that if things go correctly, then he should have a decent chance to return by the end of the year. Roki and Gonsolin are both kind of just up in the air to me. If I don't have any real trust for either of those guys to get back. I know Roki, there's been a couple of somewhat encouraging things lately, but I just don't have any sort of faith in that situation. So yeah, I'd probably say Kopech coming back from the meniscus, I don't think is an impossibility. And then Gratterall, it seems like he'll be back eventually, I hope.
Yeah, I'm with you. Roki, in a weird way, Roki might be Gratterall's probably number 1 for me. Roki might be number 2 just because it doesn't necessarily seem like they've identified something that is wrong with him. There's no reason that he couldn't start progressing tomorrow, whereas Kopech, we know we're at least a couple months away, but I am skeptical that Roki Sasaki plays a role. So I think Gratterall is clearly the number 1, and I would probably Roki or Kopech would be number 2. Jarren Duran, second time we've been asked about that. Any interest there?
I don't see a huge fit. Skill bags, he's a dirt bag, so I like the guy, but it's again a situation of like, I don't think that Duran raises the team by that much. I know everybody doesn't like Michael Conforto right now, but if the Dodgers get rid of Michael Conforto, then it won't be to replace him with an outfielder. I think it'll be like because they think that there's somebody in the organization that needs to play more, whether it's Haesung Kim and then move Edman back to the outfield. If it's to fix the defense, get Teoscar back to left field. Duran doesn't really fit either of those scenarios. So I think Conforto is the left fielder, and they're okay with that until something needs to change with his situation specifically. And the answer to that isn't a big trade where you're parting with serious talent. I think that's another thing with Duran. He gets thrown around in trade talks a lot nowadays. Like there's been Padres talk, there's been Dodger talk, where people don't realize quite how much he would cost. Like this guy is under team control for a long time. And he would be like, if you go to the table for Duran, you might need to go and give like a Josue de Paula, a Zaire Hope. Like you're talking about the top of the system. And I don't think that really makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, he's arbitration eligible for the first time next season, to give you a sense. Not a free agent until 2029. Roger wants to know, how has Sean, how do you pronounce that last name? Lignon been since his promotion, and where do you have him in the Dodger prospect rankings? MLB has him 29th in the org.
I'll say he'll be higher than 29 on my midseason list. I think he'll be somewhere in the teens, maybe the back half of the teens, but I haven't placed him completely concrete yet. But he's been good in high A. He's gotten a couple of spot starts in AAA, which obviously shows that, I mean, the Comets needed pitchers, but still it shows that they had some sort of trust in him to move him up there and give him a couple of spot chances at one doorstep to the major leagues. So he's been good. The changeup is ridiculous. It might be double plus, and he's just another guy in the long lineage of Ryan Pepio, Kyle Hurt, these right-handed pitchers who have plus to double plus changeups. Lignon is next in line. Yeah,
there you go. Wants to know, Betts 96 weighted runs created plus in 2025 is not protecting Shohei, and the reason Shohei is expanding his zone and has more strikeouts. With runners in scoring position, Show average low 200s, on base percentage low 400s, getting walked, knowing Betts is an automatic out. Do you think Mookie Betts' struggles are the reason that Shohei is striking out more, Bruce?
No, I don't think so. It might be like a very, very small factor, but I don't think teams are. They don't view Betts as an automatic out by any stretch. Like he's still Mookie Betts, and I know that it's easy to look at the numbers and be very discouraged, but he's still not a guy that teams prefer. Like they prefer to pitch to him over Ohtani, but in a general vacuum, you don't want Mookie Betts up there as the opposing team. So he's not as dangerous as he was in past years, and maybe teams aren't quite as afraid to throw to Ohtani as they were last year, but still you could bring that all the way down the lineup and say Freddie Freeman hasn't been himself lately. Yeah. Like there's a lot of factors, and also just Ohtani is a guy that tends to swing and miss a bit, and you're perfectly fine with that because he's still Shohei Ohtani and putting up Shohei Ohtani production in the end.
Yep, I'm with you. Question, can we really trust Tanner Scott in important close games? Do you still trust Tanner Scott, Bruce?
Yeah, I don't think there's really an alternative. Like this roster is built around him being the main back end guy. So like he's just going to have to be. And I don't think that that's something that isn't possible. If things continue to be bad, like we're still only at the mid-July, like haven't hit the All-Star break yet. There's a lot of season left to play. And there was a stretch here in this last month where it seemed like he had figured it out again, and he was pitching like the Padres, Tanner Scott, and the guy the Dodgers wanted to sign. So I still think that ultimately is the guy that he'll get back to, and I'm not going to say that they need to move him out of the closer role until there's proof that he cannot get back there.
Yeah, I'm with you. He allowed 3 home runs all of last year. He's already allowed 7. That's bad. I'm not downplaying that, but it's like if somehow he figures out a way to fix that and to go back to not allowing home runs, then I think our view of him will change very, very quickly in a positive direction. Ederico asked about the other guy who kind of blew things last night. Will Kirby Yates be a quality arm for us going forward? He has been inconsistent. He has had way more issues than Tanner Scott has. He also has already allowed more home runs this year than he did all of last season. He's also older. What do you make of Kirby Yates, and kind of how much trust do you have that he'll be able to right the ship?
Kirby doesn't have the same level of trust that Scott does, or at least the same leash that Scott does, but I still think that he'll be fine in the mid to late relief, like 7th inning kind of idea. Yeah. And ultimately he's a guy that when you like extend your bullpen out to 8 guys, you're okay with Kirby Yates being one of those 8 guys, whether it's at the very end of it or hopefully in the depth of the bullpen. Like, he's good bullpen depth. If everybody can get healthy, maybe Treinen will be ahead of Kirby Yates, some other guys, Tanner Scott being one of them. But like, if you have Kirby Yates ready to pitch in the 6th inning, or if the bullpen is absolutely taxed, he's ultimately, like, Trevino has gotten a lot of innings. There's been so many like revolving doors of random guys pitching out of the bullpen. Kirby Yates is better than all of those. So it obviously hasn't been encouraging all the time this year, but he's still a guy that's going to be in the mix.
Manuel wants to know, why doesn't Dave Roberts adjust the Dodgers batting order? Obviously, we just talked about how much the Dodgers offense has struggled. I would offer, Manuel, real quick, that the guys, nobody has been very good other than, I mentioned 4 guys, and one of those 4 is hurt. So other than Ohtani, Will Smith, and Andy Pages, they don't have a ton of guys you can move up and down this lineup and feel good about it. I would add Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman have earned the right to be at the top of this order, no matter how bad the previous week or month has been. At some point that might change. I'm not there yet personally. So if the Dodgers want to mess around with the 6 through 9 spots in the order, by all means, it seems like they kind of have. But for me, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts have earned the right to be at the top of this lineup until the wheels fall off, and the wheels have not fallen off.
I'm 100% with you. Those guys have the track records. They have the pedigree to hit at the top of the lineup and assume that they are better than the numbers have been this year. Like, ultimately, when you go into a game on a night-to-night basis, you're not looking at Mookie Betts and viewing him as a 700 OPS player. You're looking at him and you're viewing Mookie Betts, and you want Mookie Betts batting second. You want Freddie Freeman batting third. And they have kind of experimented with that 3 and 4 spots. Freddie bats cleanup sometimes against lefties, which I'm okay with how good Will Smith has been to move him up to third. Teoscar has gotten bumped down a little bit here lately. He's not hitting third against lefties all the time anymore. I think Will Smith has passed him up a little bit. And I think Andy Pages has a similar kind of situation to Teoscar, that if he has been hitting great, but his approach doesn't fit quite as well at the top of the lineup because he doesn't walk very much, doesn't get on base like a ton for how high his average is. So I prefer Pages being after those guys that get on base a lot, and then Pages can come up and drive him in, which is exactly what he's done. And he, I believe, leads the team in RBIs because he's been hitting behind this main group of hitters.
Yeah, fair. All right, we got a few more. TQT, Michael Busch is hitting like an elite bat. We are hope would eventually be what Busch is now. We are hoping that Zaire Hope will eventually be what Busch is now. That's kind of a weird comp considering they play dramatically different positions and have dramatically different profiles. But did we mess that one up? Busch could have easily fit in left right now. The main thing here is Busch could not have easily fit in left field right now. He also could not have fit at third base. Let me ask this. Like, how big of a gap is there between Teoscar, who's been atrocious, and Michael Busch as far as what you think they would offer defensively? Because I think the argument, I'm with you. First of all, I was about to say exactly what you just said. I think the counter would be, like, is there really that big of a difference between what we've seen in the corner outfields this year?
Yeah, I think there is, because we saw like some guys, you just can't stick them in the outfield and assume it's going to be fine. Miguel Vargas was terrible in the outfield when they tried him there. Gavin Lux didn't have a great time. I think he's played left field a little bit with Cincinnati this year, but that was after a lot more work than when they just stuck him out there. Yeah. Michael Busch is not an overly athletic guy. Like, I think someone like Teoscar Hernandez he's more athletic than Michael Busch. It's just that his reads are pretty bad. If Busch had reads similar to Teoscar Hernandez's and didn't have Teoscar's sprint speed to sometimes make up for it, then it could be even worse. He also doesn't have a cannon like Teoscar has, so there's not value there. Ultimately, the reason Michael Busch got traded is because he's a first baseman in Major League Baseball. That's what he's played for the Cubs, exclusively first base and DH, and he's been great there. So right now, that trade, neither team would undo it if they had the chance to, because Zaire Hope looks like a potential future top prospect in baseball. Jackson Ferris has good stuff and could potentially be a mid-rotation starter. And then for the Cubs, they got their first baseman of the future. So I think everybody is okay with where things are at right now. And for Dodger fans, there's no reason to root against Michael Busch or feel like the Dodgers lost that trade or gave away somebody before he broke out. Like, it just had to happen because of the fit.
Michael Busch grades out poorly as a first baseman defensively, if you want context. Like, his range at first base is in the 18th percentile. He has no arm. So that should tell you what you need to know about the corner outfield. While maybe athletically he can hang in the realm of a Teoscar Hernandez, I still think it would be worse than Teoscar Hernandez, worse than Michael Conforto And we've already seen how bad those guys have been. So I'm with you. By the way, shout out to Zach McKinstry, all-star for the Detroit Tigers. He was one of these guys that I always thought was going to figure it out, Bruce. And he didn't with the Dodgers. And I felt like I ate crow on that. And here he is. He's an all-star. And Michael Busch and Zach McKinstry, by the way, both on my fantasy baseball team, which everybody loves to hear about. So there you go.
They're both in the realm of like they're former Dodgers who have gone somewhere else and really figured it out. And there's no reason to feel any sort of anger with that. Like they weren't going to fit as Dodgers. They didn't. And then they went and they're flourishing. So just be happy for him. I know I'm pumped for McKinstry. I'm pumped for Busch. The last thing I'll throw in on Michael Busch too, ever since he came up, there was so much talk about that question said left field, but there was so much talk about third base, second base. Like, can't he just go to one of those places? And I'll attest that in 2023, the summer of 23, when Busch was stuck in AAA purgatory and they played in Reno, and I was at that series and got to get in before the gates open, watching Oklahoma City take pregame infield with Michael Busch at third base was the ugliest thing I've ever seen. The only thing that ever compared to it was Gavin Lux making throws from shortstop when I was at Dodger Stadium one winter. And those two things were ugly, but Busch, not a big league third baseman, not a big league second baseman. Let him play first base for the Cubs and be happy that he's doing well.
All right. Laura's got one last baseball question. We got two non-baseball ones. What's your prediction for second half Mookie Betts? Do you think if you just start things over on day one after the All-Star break, Bruce, give me like a weighted runs created plus number you think is realistic for Mookie?
I'd say like 110, 115 is what I'm hoping for, where it's going to be above average. It's going to be better than he has been. I don't think that he's going to all of a sudden be like second half 2023 Mookie Betts, who's like a top 5 hitter in baseball, because I know that we had this chat. It was either last week or a couple weeks ago where he was mentioning stuff with the virus, and it's the strength that hasn't gotten back. Like whether he's gotten to the baseline weight, like the bat speed isn't where it was at in spring training. And that's the thing that like end all be all. He's not going to be able to be the power hitter that he has been before if the bat speed isn't back. And that's just tough to recover midseason. So short answer is 110, 115, maybe 120 would be great.
Yeah, give me 120. I'm optimistic, but I'm with you. You have to remember he is trying to do something that playing baseball every day is making harder. Like he is losing strength and losing weight just by playing baseball every single day. And so unless he were to take an extended stretch on the injured list in order to let his body rest, build up strength, that kind of a thing, it's just not realistic to expect him to get back to full strength this year. It's going to take an off season. And so I'm hopeful it's 120. That would be my optimistic Jeff view. I don't know if this resonates with you. TQT asks me my first non-Dodgers question. What's your favorite Blink-182 album? Enema gets all the love, but self-titled is my personal favorite. Also, most underrated Blink song, Asthenia, doesn't get enough love. Are you a Blink-182 guy, Bruce?
I don't dislike them, but I can't tell you any names of their albums either.
Okay. Enema is my favorite one, which is like the most mainstream thing. But What's My Age Again was the first Blink-182 song that I remember hearing as a middle schooler. Fantastic. I don't know if this is an underrated Blink song, but I love Adam's song, which is also on that album. And so there you go. Enema is my favorite, and Adam's song. Last one, NS asking the important questions. Ice cream or shaved ice / a snow cone, Bruce?
It's hard to like say that I don't like either one of these. I'll take ice cream. Shaved ice is like in a specific situation of like if you're outside and you don't want the ice cream to be melting all over you, then that'll be better. But in a general sense, I think ice cream delivers. Yeah,
I think snow cone is like a distant third on this list. Like real shaved ice in Hawaii is pretty elite. And it's hard to compare it to ice cream because I feel like ice cream, you can choose like 18 different experiences depending on what flavor of ice cream you're going to go with. But I would probably go ice cream over shaved ice, snow cone distant third. That's my answer. What flavor of ice cream are you getting, Bruce, if you get ice cream?
I'm kind of a basic guy. Like if I just can get like a strawberry or maybe like a mango sherbet or sorbet, or I don't know how you pronounce that, but whatever. Yeah, I will go for the fruity flavors usually.
Okay. Yeah, I'm salted caramel ice cream, like sea salt caramel, vanilla is great. Mint chip, cookie dough, half baked from Ben & Jerry's might be my all-time favorite ice cream. It's got some brownies, I think, mixed in there. So, yeah, shaved ice. What about like, are you just like one flavor on the shaved ice, or you throw like 7 different things on?
I honestly haven't had too much shaved ice before. I haven't been to Hawaii or had the Hawaiian shaved ice. So if that's like the true shaved ice experience, then I've never had it.
Okay, we got to get you there. You got to go get real shaved ice in Hawaii. I'm sure there's places in Southern California that have it, but man, it's it's worth it. Again, I think like a snow cone is like very mid. Maybe that's a hot take.
Snow cone is the kind of thing that like you have your own like little machine that you buy on Amazon and you drizzle some Coca-Cola syrup and it's a pretty like basic home DIY activity.
Yeah. I see Dong says, does Jeff like Portland salt and straw ice cream? Yes, salt and straw started here. And they have their main flavor is like a sea salt caramel that is unbelievable. So there you go. That'll do it for us, everybody. A little bit, tiny bit shorter show. I told Bruce before, I'm a little under the weather, coming back, re-entering society, trying to fill my body back up with water and electrolytes. So I was out in like the desert, 110 degree heat. Wasn't at Burning Man, but it was great. It was great. There was a swimming pool involved, so no complaints. But I think my body just needed to recharge. And this has been helpful, folks. And we're going to start winning baseball games, hopefully this weekend, maybe not tomorrow, but after that, we can hope. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. That is Bruce. I am Jeff. As I mentioned, three cool interviews that are coming here on the Dodger Blue channel. So if you have not already, subscribe and ring the notification bell. Blake got a sit-down interview with Evan Phillips. I've got an interview with Andy McCullough, who wrote the book on Clayton Kershaw and who also is going to talk trade deadline preview. He's a national baseball reporter for The Athletic. And lastly, Justin Lorber and I did a draft preview, which we'll post tomorrow. So tons of content coming on that front. We'll also have a draft recap. And then Matthew Moreno and I will be back on Sunday night here to do some Dodger heads with Anthony off on that one. That is Bruce. I am Jeff, folks. Enjoy the rest of your night. As always, go Dodgers. And yes, still champs.